Hi, this is Greg Hague. All my life I've been in real estate. I grew up in the business. My dad owned a real estate firm. I started selling when I was 18. I love what this business has done for me. But the one thing I've seen, and it's happened with me, is worry. Because this is a business when you never know when you'll get your next listing. You never know when you'll make your next sale. You don't know for sure that the sales you make are going to close. The bottom line is it creates worry. Well, I have solved the worry problem. And actually, it wasn't me that solved it. It was a story, it was an experience with my dad that solved the worry problem. I'd like to tell you about it because if you're in real estate and you ever suffer from worrying where your next commission is going to come from and when that's going to come, this may help you. I call it the 3 circles of worry. And the story goes like this. Back in the 1960s, you might recall there was a thing called the Cuban Missile Crisis. Never forget that. I was a little kid at the time, and it was really funny because during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and you remember Khrushchev had put missiles in Cuba, and Kennedy was our president, and then there was the Cuban blockade when Kennedy told Khrushchev, hey, you're not putting any more missiles in Cuba. In fact, you better get those missiles out. And Khrushchev told Kennedy, take a hike. And then so Khrushchev, who was the president of Russia, sends his boats over, and these boats have these nuclear missiles on them, and Kennedy puts up this blockade around Cuba, and all everybody's consumed with in the United States at the time is, oh my gosh, are we going to get in a nuclear war with with Russia? And I mean, we're paralytic. It's all everybody talks about all day, day after day. And I remember at school, they had these nuclear fallout drills. We had these little desks, and they're having us hide under the desk, like, we're not going to get the nuclear fallout on our head. It's like craziness. And this is the thing, though. I remember a Saturday, and this Saturday was like, this week had been like the total week when everybody was paralyzed. And it was Saturday, and I get up and I go out, and my dad is sitting in his home office. And remember, he's in real estate and he owns a real estate firm. And all that week I had noticed at dinner, at night, and whatever, he never talked about it. He didn't care. It was like this thing didn't exist. It was all that existed in the rest of the world, and he didn't seem to care. So I went into him that Saturday and I said, Dad, aren't you afraid of nuclear war? Aren't you afraid we're going to get blown up? And he says, Greg, I've never told you about the 3 circles of worry, have I? And I said, no. I said, tell me. He says, well, it goes like this. He says, first of all, there's circle 1. Circle 1 is all the things you can control, like brushing your teeth. He said, you can brush your teeth whenever you want. So you don't worry about those things, you just do them. He said, then there's circle 2. Circle 2 are all the things that emanate from circle 1. Like, you can brush your teeth as much as you want in circle 1. That'll probably keep you from getting cavities. Cavities are circle 2, but you can't be sure. Well, it's silly to worry about circle 2. All you do is do everything you can in circle 1, and then what happens in circle 2 happens in circle 2. He said, but Greg, here's the thing that takes people down. Here's the thing that causes people not to rise to their highest level, not to have the success that they could, and that's circle 3. It's all these things you can't control. He says, think of the array of things going on at the news, bad things happening, all this, all that. He said, this thing that's going on between Kennedy and Khrushchev. He said, that's circle 3. He said, it's like a meteor coming down and blowing up the house today. He said, I can't control that, so here's what I do. He said, the way I look at it is whenever these big circle 3 things are happening and everybody's consumed and all my competitors, all the other real estate firms, all the real estate agents who aren't with me, they're out there talking. They're not selling real estate. They're not listing real estate. They're just standing around the water cooler talking about this. He says, that's when I double down. He said, that's when I really go to work. I don't even think about that stuff. I just try to get ahead. I thought, wow, what an interesting idea. When other people are consumed with these circle 3 worries, like when am I going to get my next listing? When am I going to get my next sale? All these things, all I do is double down and work harder. But I will tell you one thing Dad said, the one time to worry, and I've never forgotten this. He said, Greg, there is one time to worry. And I said, well, Dad, what's that? He says, you should worry when you think about the things you should be doing, could be doing, but aren't doing. And he said, let that haunt you. Let you worry about those things. You worry about those things. And he said, guess what? You're never even going to have to think about circle 3 because you'll be doing so well in circle 1 and so well in circle 2 that circle 3 will become irrelevant. Hey, this is Greg Hague. Like to dominate your listing market? Come over to realestatemaverics.com. Right now, today, we're writing the creative playbook on how you can win in real estate. Thanks for joining me.